And what is up, everybody? Okay, for those of you wondering what this is about, is because I just finished watching the movie Megan Levy. I it's funny because I didn't hear anything about this, and I'm from New York, and she's from New York, and for whatever reason, um, I had no clue about this, and this girl is, basically my sister, and all I knew, well, it was a refreshing change of pace from the last, you know, big Hollywood budget female military movie with what's her name, Kristen Stewart or whatever, from Twilight, playing an army, playing a soldier who sympathizes and like falls in love with with terrorists in Guantanamo. So it was a very very refreshing change of pace with that. But at first I'm watching Megan Levy, and just just watching them pan across the landscape of Paris Island, was making my head twitch. And um, certain things about it felt very fake, very poorly acted out. I've said for the longest time, you want the Marine Corps at its absolute movies that portray the Marine Corps at its best is Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood and Battle Los Angeles with uh, is it Aaron Eckert, right? And ironically, one of the actors from that is in he was the Marine lieutenant and in Battle Los Angeles, and he's also in this movie as well. Maybe he was a Marine in real life. I don't know. I know he's uh, I know he's also in what is it, Iron Fist and the Defenders as a villain. But that being said, when it came to this movie, it's like it felt very fake in the beginning. It really did. Then when she got deployed, that's when the realism started to come in. That's when it was like, oh, okay, I know what that's like. Yeah, that's more or less exactly how that would happen. That's exactly how they would deal with it in this situation. And referring to the Iraqis out there as Hajis, it's like that was right out of. It's like they might as well have been out there with me. I was out there in 2004, and she was deployed in '06, so I was on my way out by that time. And the dog, obviously she was partnering with this dog. They should have called it Max and Megan or Max and Levy. you know but they just made it all about her, which it was about her. It's not like the dog had any had any real say like in the story, and I don't know what they might have embellished on or anything like that, but it was definitely a very good, very important movie that I recommend. That it, it's tough. It's tough to see something like that. Um, this past Veterans Day, last year, November. Um, it was November 11th. It was November 11th. I was in Times Square. And I watched Hacksaw Ridge for the first time, and watching it in the movie theater. Just like, watching watching it in the theater and listening to the war scenes. Like, I love war movies. I always have. I saw Saving Private Ryan when I was, what, 14, 15 years old, I forget, and it changed my life. And I wanted, I realized that there was so much more to making a movie than standing in front of the camera. So I wanted to learn everything about that. That's why I have a degree in digital. I got my degree in digital media, and I went to LA to study filmmaking. And even when I saw Jarhead, you know, I related to about 90% of everything that that Marine had gone through. And if I couldn't myself, I knew somebody that could. And when I saw Battle of Los Angeles for the first time, I had already bought it on I bought it on Blu-ray, and it was very, very, very gut wrenching, very moving, you know. But watching Hacksaw Ridge and hearing everything go off, that's when it got that's when it was starting to get a little bit too real for me. Um, I remember when I first got back, um, hearing these little pops go off. The first thing I did was jump behind the wheel well of a car, and this is in Midtown Manhattan. Granted, everybody was scared, but it could have been gunshots, but it could have just been a car backing up. And last job I had, uh, you know, I was about to stab somebody because they came up on me too quickly to ask me what time it was. I was doing security. The job before that, I busted somebody's head open with a chisel, and the the VA doesn't consider me as unemployable for whatever reason, because like I'm actually trying to get better. Because I'm actually like trying to get up and do something with my life, as opposed to stay curled up in a ball here this whole time. I probably would have killed myself a long time ago if that was the case. And I guess one of the things that I noticed about this movie, especially, I'm spoiling it for anybody. Um, the one thing that I could tell by the story is that she felt like she abandoned the dog. Felt that she, because for the first time in a long, in ever, she's actually able to commit and love something, and because she wanted out of the Marine Corps and they wouldn't let him leave, unfortunately. I mean, right off the bat, she got to go home, but he stayed. I know all too well what that feels like. And thank God none of my friends um, that stayed behind. But mind you, I was an ordnance technician for F-18s. Like I've said this a while back on my Marine Corps birthday rant. Um, during my time in service, I was an ordnance technician for F-18s, but that didn't stop them from asking me to do perimeter security in Al-Assad, Iraq, when Geraldo Rivera gave away his position, and they were attacked. That was us, June 25th, 2004. That was my dad's birthday. Yeah, that's the day before is my birthday, and I didn't bother calling home because I didn't want to hear it. Because the year before, for my 21st birthday, I had to report to Lemoore, California. So I didn't even get to celebrate my 21st birthday, and it's a year later, and I still hadn't seen anything that closely resembled family. And something like that gets to happen. Um, Somebody tries to kill you, more than once, and didn't help that the following deployment, without enough time to decompress, and since I don't really drink alcohol, I never really did. Um, you don't have that to keep your feelings or anything at bay, and since I wasn't trying to get into a relationship with anybody, because I wasn't planning on staying in. you just keep you just keep that bottled up in your head until you know it you know it it starts to explode all of a sudden, and it's happened on more than one occasion. I I finally get out, but I couldn't help but feel like I I left those I left my boys hanging. Um, Segura, coffee, halter. Yeah, you. Yeah, believe it. But even though I would have never admitted it back then. But yes, I really did consider you a friend, halter. Um, and I, granted, they all survived, and I guess some of them are out. Some of them are out of the Marine Corps now. Most of them are still in. I, even my boy, Caesar Bocanegra. He was my fire team leader during my time in Iraq. He's still in, and he still deploys, and I can't help but feel like, and like every time he goes out there, I can't feel, but like I just left him hanging. He's out there. Well, granted, yeah, I did my fighting, but I, you know, he's out there, and and I chose to stay out here. I feel like I abandoned my post. I feel like I abandoned my troops, my people, my brothers. It's been it's been 11 years now. It's been 11 years, since I've been out. I got out December 2006. It's 2017 now, and I I can't help but I can't help but feel this way. And between my PTSD and my torn rotator cuff and possible traumatic brain injury from you know uh, being woken up by so many explosions, um, you know, me re-enlisting and the fact that I'm 35 years old now, me re-enlisting is out of the question. Then to find to find out 2 years later that the guy who taught me my job, granted, he was one of the very few people that had any real faith in me. He was a year younger than me, and I looked up to him. That was a weird thing. And he was the one that taught me how to do my job properly. He was the one that really took the time to make sure that I learned, that I learned everything. And even when I did screw up, he let me know it's not that bad. There's, like I was not. He had faith in me when I didn't. Then to that he find out 2 years after he passed away that he was shot in his own home. It doesn't help things either. This stuff like this just I don't know what I don't know how to put it, because unless you've experienced this for yourself, there's no point in trying to explain, and there's no point trying to get people to understand, because the only people that don't understand are the people who have been through it. It's like I was like my boy Ken right now. He was a sniper in the Marine Corps, and I knew he had PTSD before he was willing to admit it. And I've talked with people, and other veterans like myself who suffer from it, and they're looking at me and they know I got it, and I'm continuously trying, as best as I possibly can right now. I I can't help but feel like I need to just point out that if not for, there is help. There is help. There are people that do care, even if they don't necessarily understand you. They do genuinely care. They might not want to, they might not even be trying to understand you, but I look into my nieces and my nephew's eyes, and they just see their uncle, and I'm their only uncle, and so I have to be the best uncle in the world, and I love them to death, and you know, I know that they truly care, truly care unconditionally. They're my little people. I love them, and if for nothing else, they help me keep going. And as far as my benefits or anything like that, I go to the I go to the VA hospital, and I'm shocked that there's not more people my age. I'm shocked that there's not so many. I know there's so many young soldiers and sailors and Marines and airmen that come home, and it's they're just getting home. They don't realize what's going on. There's a reason they call it post traumatic stress, because it's long after the fact, and they need to start seeking help. They need to go out there and get their benefits and get what they deserve, and get help, get support. There's so it's if it's one thing that I learned is that is that veterans will always help another veteran, almost always. Um, it it's it's just part of that camaraderie, that brotherhood, regardless of what branch of service you serve. As a running joke with me, I run into a sailor or a soldier, I will say, I won't hold it against you. And if they say, oh, you must be a Marine, I say, only the smart ones get it. I can't stress enough how many, especially my brothers in the Corps, how many young Marines get out of service and they're not even trying to seek help. They're not even trying to, they're just, everything that's wrong with them, they just try to keep it at bay. It works for a little while until something happens and everything comes to a screeching halt. You start to gain momentum, and you think it's behind you. And what happens is, once everything starts to slow down, it starts to creep up and eventually dog piles on top of you. That's where my boy Ken is. That's where I've been a couple of times. That's where, that's where guys staying at the Hollywood House in Los Angeles, that's what happened to them with their alcohol and drug issues. And I can't stress enough. I can't. This is getting, this is getting very, very, very personal for me right now. And for those of you watching, maybe you're veterans, maybe you have PTSD like me, I encourage you to go get yourself checked out. And for those of you who are not veterans, or maybe you know somebody, encourage, above all else, encourage them. Maybe you don't have the merest inkling of what they're going through or what's going on in their head, but at least let them know that you're there. They will, and if anything, they will appreciate that. They will appreciate that more than anything. Um, this Veterans Day, I will be at the Urban Action Showcase with for my channel, Action Fuzz, for my other YouTube channel, my other Facebook page, and it should be fun. Michael Jai White's gonna be there. Um, Lu Fang, who was the Centipede in the Five Venoms, is going to be there. It's basically a film festival, but it's promoting black heroes, and I want to, it's at the AMC Theater on 42nd Street in New York City. It is gonna be a nice size turnout, and it's basically an action film festival to promote positive black heroes within cinema. I truly believe in the project. Um, and I'm just giving them a shout out. Was there a couple years ago. I had a good time. This year, I'm actually going to be one of the vendors, and I'm really looking forward to it. But it's going to be on Veterans Day. And so many people don't really know what that means. And I've said it on more than one occasion. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much I explain it to you. It's like until you've signed your name on that contract, until you've gone home, left home to go to whatever boot camp that they're sending you to, and until you've earned the right to wear this uniform, you will never understand why or how we do what it is that we do. I'm done talking. You guys have a good night.